But first, many people have been asking, what can the Coalition do to make their campaign more exciting and more compelling? Can they do better ads? Well, yes, they most certainly can. But the best ads are those that have a powerful idea executed in a highly creative and unusual manner. And this is the best ad I have seen so far this campaign. It is witty, it is topical, and it goes to the heart of the phony teals who bleat on about integrity but run around stealing their rivals' placards. And it is memorable. I sincerely hope Amelia Hamer does win the seat of Kooyong from the appallingly insufferable Monique Ryan. And if she does, that ad, and of course Monique Ryan's husband, will have played a critical role. Elsewhere, I'm afraid the Coalition's campaign is lacklustre and unimaginative. Everything seems to be couched in camouflage, with the Coalition advisers clearly looking to avoid any controversy. Personally, I think this is a huge mistake. The Coalition won the Voice campaign because they were fearless, bold and imaginative, and they had an ace up their sleeve, Senator Jacinta Nampijinpa-Price. I said several months ago that if Peter Dutton wanted to win this election in a landslide, he should have Jacinta by his side everywhere he goes. But the good news is there are many issues where the Coalition could still win this election if they focus their firepower on them. And The Voice, not surprisingly, is still one of them. Writing in The Spectator Australia this week, of which I'm the editor, Rebecca Weiser has a grim warning indeed for the over 60% of Australians who voted no to the racism and divisiveness of The Voice. As far as Labor is concerned, this election is a second bite at the Voice cherry. Rebecca warns that if Labor wins, plans are already underway to introduce the Voice by stealth. As Rebecca writes, quote, "The reality of Albanese's government is that its worship of Indigenous and environmental shibboleths is slowly but surely impoverishing Australians. The only difference under a Labor Green minority government is that this will be speeded up." Rebecca points out how Labor governments have already been sneaking in bits of the Voice by stealth, banning access to popular tourist spots, setting up truth commissions and treaties, and she warns correctly that the lunatics within Labor and the Greens will see an Albanese win as a mandate to pursue all the Voice-style Indigenous craziness. I'd throw in the teals there as well. Truth-telling, Makarrata and all that malarkey. So I ask, why aren't the Coalition out there every day hammering home this point, with Jacinta and Warren by Peter Dutton's side? Next comes Labor's mandatory climate reporting laws. Again, this issue is covered brilliantly in The Spectator Australia by Michael Bohm, one of John Howard's top advisers. As Michael Bohm points out, in his budget in reply speech, Peter Dutton promised to repeal the Albanese government's disgraceful and draconian mandatory climate reporting laws, which were introduced only 3 months ago. These laws carry potential prison sentences and force businesses to meet and report net zero commitments, and worse, force suppliers and small businesses who deal with larger companies to do the same. For example, a farmer who supplies a retail chain or a regional small business supplying a big mining group will be subject to these sinister laws, which at The Spectator Australia we have dubbed the Carbon Inquisition, because that's what it will end up being. Confess to your carbon emissions or else. Why aren't the Coalition out there every day warning about this hideous law? Make no mistake, if Labor wins this election, in my opinion, before too long, every small business, every farmer, every contractor, every tradie will eventually be forced to comply with insane climate net zero regulations and ever-worsening green tape, at the risk of going to prison if they don't get it right. Dutton has also promised to get rid of the disgraceful EV mandates in the new vehicle laws. So that's all good. But shout it loud from the rooftops. What a scam the whole EV, net zero, climate stuff really is. And then there's the issue of superannuation. Again, Peter Dutton has promised to junk Jim Chalmers' disgraceful plan to slap an additional 15% tax on superannuation balances over $3 million by, wait for it, taxing unrealised capital gains. To most people, this just sounds like some sort of wealth tax, but no, this affects everybody, and it will do in the future, guaranteed. The Coalition needs to hammer home how insidious this tax is. It's the ultimate magic pudding tax, taxing you for money you don't even have. Once Labor begins taxing unrealised capital gains, in other words, profit that doesn't exist but on paper potentially could exist, they're going to tax it. You still have to pay tax on it. Where will this madness stop? It's a disgrace. Again, the Coalition have promised to repeal this, so why are they not making a real song and dance about it? And finally, the ABC. I felt a frisson of excitement when I saw the headline, Dutton signals potential cuts to the ABC. But my excitement was short-lived when I listened to what Dutton actually said.
There's a lot of critics on your side about the ABC, so what about, would you have a look at their budget?
Well, again, I think the approach that we would take is to reward excellence and to where we find waste, to cut that waste. And there are a lot of regional services for the ABC which I think are underdone.
Well, unfortunately, that doesn't sound much like selling off the ABC or putting it on a subscription model, which is the only way the ABC will ever be rid of its hard-left, anti-Australian biases. As Alexandra Marshall writes on Flat White, Conservatives would love Dutton to slash ABC funding. Quote, if Dutton had a firm plan for the demise of the ABC's gratuitous operations, he would have named and shamed potential targets to market himself after Doge, which is a good idea. Peter Dutton will have to be far more specific about his intentions so that voters can have confidence that these are policy plans and not fleeting comments in the election news cycle that ultimately mean nothing. And then this great comment. Peter Dutton would be better off using the ABC as a piñata, smacking it at every opportunity until all the goodies fall out. Love it. Peter Dutton should attack the ABC and dismantle it. We're $1 trillion in debt. We cannot afford to waste over $1 billion every year on nonsense like this.
Our house is being sold, so we need a will to live, but also a place to live.
I'm Grace, I'm an ABC journalist, and today I'm in Ascot Vale speaking with Ainsley, Helen and Lucinda. They've dubbed their rental the Pussy Palace because they love their cats.
Who are you voting for in the next election? I agree.
And celebrating the female form.
This is a nude portrait my friend made. This is so that all our guests can learn about the menstrual cycle.
You pay for that garbage. And finally, where Peter Dutton has been brilliant is in his unwavering support for Israel, especially since the vile October 7th attacks by Hamas. His conviction has been as inspiring as it has been relentless, and it has paid off in spades, with the latest polling amongst the Australian Jewish community showing an astonishing and an unprecedented shift, with support amongst Jewish Australians for the Liberal Party at 83%, and for the Teals now only a measly 4%, the Greens 1%. Hallelujah. With any luck, this should see Roanoke selected in Wentworth and Amelia Hamer in Kooyong, and others too. But this reinforces the reality of elections. You don't win them by being cautious and nervous about taking a stance. You win them by grabbing the issue by the scruff of the neck, by using emotion as much as cool, hard facts. You use passion, you use wit, and above all, you use conviction. And you are not afraid to slam your opponents into the ground at every possible opportunity. Peter Dutton is up against one of the feeblest and most uninspiring Prime Ministers we have ever had. He should be miles ahead in the polls. This election should be a competition of wildly competing visions, fiercely fought, not a Me Too, wishy-washy, lacklustre choice between Tweedledum and Tweedledee, as some commentators have called it. Need I remind the Coalition just how useless this Prime Minister is? He can't even write his own speeches.
In Australia, we have serious challenges to solve, and we need serious people to solve them. Unfortunately, Tony Abbott is not the least bit interested in fixing anything.
We have serious problems to solve, and we need serious people to solve them. And whatever your particular problem is, I promise you, Bob Rumson is not the least bit interested in solving it.
He's only interested in two things: making Australians afraid of it and telling them who's to blame for it.
He is interested in two things, and two things only: making you afraid of it and telling you who's to blame for it.